all the way from a small little country town known as Shepparton to the big smoke of not only Melbourne, but of this whole country. He's a golden era representative. He's a representative of his people, and he's a representative of these people out here tonight. So can I ask you all, please join me and make noise for the man known as Briggs!
What's that guy? You can take to meet your parents, yeah. Appearance, let alone let me ride in a minute. Politicking with your pops, never talk over dinner. Truck in the car when I wait till you finish.
Rapping was like the pinnacle for me. I was like, yep, that's what I've always wanted to do. This is, let's go.
Drive on to the drive-through, six-pack Jack's gin, nah, baby, I love meatloaf.
I would describe Briggs as a Godzilla-type figure doing karaoke to R. Kelly songs.
Slide up in your sheets and arrested in a second cause you moved last week.
And he's always enjoyed music and he's always wanted to express himself. Some kids choose sport, football, he chose the arts.
Briggs is a pretty big, intimidating dude, but that's only if you don't know him. Actually, if you do know him, he's still the same.
Got them big goggles, Roy Orbison. On a bar like an ornament. Next round order them. Blast off avoiding them. Last round I slaughtered them. Sitting on a stool like a busted accordion. And talking to this broad like I'm charming as fuck. But what really...
That's my school, where a teacher told me I wouldn't amount to nothing. This is where we used to hang out. This is the cinema. But one time, my cousins borrowed a tricycle from there because Snoop Dogg had one when he was on the American Music Awards. Just then. Growing up in Shep was interesting, it was good fun. It was pretty country, real simple. We messed around, rode our bikes, and I hung out with my cousins. I had a lot of cousins growing up, man. I had cousins that I didn't even know how they were my cousins. But they're just your cousins anyway, you know what I mean? We played footy. The best part of it was having a laugh with, all my cousins, and they taught me heaps. I was the youngest of my generations. Like, all my first cousins were all late 20s, 30 plus. So I hung out with their kids, my second cousins. I just like music because, all my cousins like music, but it was still, pretty new to me. So I'd like to see Rage. And I remember one night on Rage, they played Ice Cube, It Was a Good Day, and I was blown away. That's still my favourite song to this day. It really took me by surprise that something could, grab me like that. I couldn't stop listening to it. I taped it.
Just waking up in the morning, gotta thank God. I don't know, but today seems kinda odd. No barking from the dog, no small. And mama cooked the breakfast with no hog.
And then Snoop Dogg came on, and I lost it. I didn't know. I was like, who's that? Is he our cousin? Do we know him? That was another thing. At school, we had a reading post. I'd be like, I finished my work, can I go on the reading post? Because they had better headphones. And I'd go in there and I'd put on my Ice Cube tape and sit in with my book and just flip through it. And they must have thought I was the best reader. He's reading at a 12th grade level. He's got Pride and Prejudice.
He would get some role modelling, not necessarily from me because I haven't picked up the guitar and done that side of things, but my brothers have and other people in our family have.
I started playing guitar because all my uncles would play guitar and my mates played. And I played a gig and my mate Pete and my other mate Andy Milner were rapping on stage. And I was like, what? Someone else wants to rap? You know what I mean? I lost it, man. I almost threw my guitar out that night. You know what I mean? I was like, yes. And I mean, like, finally, I got someone else now who knows what I'm trying to do, and we're like, let's do something. Let's make some rap music. Pete was a little bit older than me, and we had a crew called 912. That was my house number and his house number put together. We were called Misdemeanor before that just because we wanted to be bad. We thought it was dope. It wasn't dope. I was so happy doing it because I was like, we're on now. It's like, you know, this is what I wanted to do. It's like I played guitar, messed around in bands. It was good fun, but this is what I've always wanted to do. I wanted to be a rapper.
I wish I
Looking back, Reason was like one of the first Aussie MCs I'd ever heard that using an Australian accent.
Gather my thoughts, contemplate the future. Imagine, dream allows me to let off some steam. My eyes fix on the moon.
I found out Reason was doing this show. I was a fan of Ree, and I was like, I hit up Dream Nightclub and said, we're an act from Shep. Can we come down and get on the bill?
The first time, Briggsy appeared on a bill that I was on, we didn't actually have a say who the supports were going to be. We got told by the promoters of the club that we've got some young MCs from out Shep way who kind of want to step up and be given that opportunity.
We done our show to about 5 people, and then Reason hit me up after it, and he's like, dope.
I was pretty taken back by this big fella with so much energy and so much passion, standing up there, proud of his world of Shep, and rapping in a way that, you know, is so comparable to, you know, some of the greats, some of the more powerful MCs, that I've followed over the years. And he was only 19 years of age.
We exchanged numbers, and I thought nothing of it. I thought, cool, got another hookup.
I was about to organise a tour through Obese Records, and I thought, look, I'm going to take a punt. I'm going to contact this Briggsy guy.
I guess he needed a new hype man, and I had no idea I was about to play the hype man role. Like, I thought I was just going to be rapping when he's like, I'll learn my words and play the hype man and blah, blah, blah. That's how I cut my teeth, was with Ree, you know, learning the ropes about gigs, how to hold yourself and whatever.
Bells where we from, but best believe when the bell rings that it's on, and I'll do to the scene what I did to the song. Feet on a beef and smash it at the box stairs. Something fishy with these others.
I moved to Melbourne and I roughed it there. Like, I slept on my sister's floor until I got an apartment, and I got this apartment, I couldn't pay the rent, and somehow I stayed there for a year. I don't know if they're looking, like, you know, never gonna find me. They're watching this, they're never going to catch me.
We were nervous about him going into Melbourne and trying to find a place for himself, but we're also confident that his values would hold him in good stead.
I done whatever to get the next meal, and it was just like, all I cared about was making rap music. That was it. And it was probably like, even my mum had said, she's like, I don't know how you survived. And I was like, telling me, I don't know how I survived either. Like, because I was down in Melbourne, and I wasn't on the side of Melbourne where any of my family were. I was on, like, the St Kilda East side. So, like, all I had was just my mates.
Driving all day, still kicking 2 feet for the school, but old enough to buy the students the booth, so I'm the cool guy. With the young kids, dim the pool lights, do some dumps, now the fake ID didn't.
I met Trials. It was funny meeting Trials, man, because I used to go to shows and people would think I was Trials.
We were at a gig and there was this guy at the front of the stage. He kept pointing at me and I was like thinking, man, does this guy want to fight me? Like, what's going on here? And basically, he got a little closer and he's like, oh man, what does he want? got really close and he's like, man, you look like me. And I'm like, man, I do look like you, man. And that was pretty much it. From there onwards, he was mistaken for me and vice versa.
Sometimes I'd sign things, you know what I mean, with the C word. You know what I mean? Charles, man, you saw my hat. I'd be like, see you. You know what I mean? So like, I've probably ruined his brand a little bit. One of the main things was like that drew me to T was I knew he was black, and I was black, so I was like, there's another brother. You know what I mean? There's other brothers doing this, like making this kind of hip hop, like. And that really tripped me out. I was like, phew.
The relationship between me and Briggs grew the most when I realised that he had changed his Centrelink address to mine. And I realised he was there for a while then.
And when I went to Centrelink there, they were like, you're homeless. You know what I mean? Like, we have reason to believe you're homeless. And I was like, I'm not homeless. Look at my shoes. These are new. You know, I'm good. I'm living with my cousin. Trials. It was ridiculous, man, and no music got done. When I lived there for that month, there was no music done at all, eh? There was no music done. No music got done.
If you don't have the support cast and you don't have the network to keep pushing you up, to keep promoting your music, and particularly on the premise from a Briggsy perspective, where he still hadn't been signed to anybody, an MC from Shep now starting to find his way in the Australian hip-hop scene, that lull really was probably the best thing to ever happen to him, because it gave him insight into not only where he could possibly go, but grounded him and made him realise where he was coming from. And I truly believe that particular period of Briggsy's life perhaps will always be the most defining, because it made him realise, I don't ever want to go back there again. There was always something in the back of my mind with Briggsy as my support, that one day he would want to step up and not necessarily out of my shadow. Briggsy wasn't in my shadow. I was probably in his shadow, so to speak.
I made homemade bombs and I brought it out by myself. There's no label connected to it. I put a barcode on it to make it look official, but that barcode don't work. You know what I mean? Like,
Homemade Bombs was the first project I ever worked on Briggs with. And I'd sent Briggs a couple of beats after we met, and he didn't really jump on anything. I was sending him stuff that probably wasn't really suited to him. It was just stuff that I was doing at the time, and I was still kind of learning a lot too, so it was pretty amateur stuff. But I sent him one beat that he ended up using for a song called Silverback, and from then I kind of kicked off like, right, this is the kind of thing he's into. And
JT, I met doing a gig in Melbourne. He was with local Knowledge then, and we just clicked, and he wanted to give me beats. And yeah, he started sending me beats, and he gave me one or two beats for my first EP, Homemade Bombs.
My first impression of Briggs was, I found him pretty intimidating, as I think anyone would. But I think the biggest surprise was he isn't how you would expect him to be at all. Like, I'm sure he's a guy that gets judged on how he looks a lot, like this big, intimidating kind of I'm going to punch your face in type of dude, when in fact he is like that, but at the same time he's actually really smart and a really together guy, and he knows the deal. He's not, he's not an irrational kind of just meathead.
Briggs really coming into his own and getting out of the support role was more than evident when he was in the booth doing the Homemade Bomb stuff. I was just lacing him with a beat, and he would know exactly what he wanted to do, go in there and have so many rhymes prepared already that he would just smash it out. It was cool. We had no idea what songs we were making or what that song was going to be for. He just had so many lyrics written down. So, it was just natural. He needed a little platform to get on, and as soon as we did give him that box, he didn't stop screaming at everyone.
I had 7/6 in the studio who helped me make the product, helped me create it. And then I had Saf who believed in it to, you know, let me, you know, put it out.
I just lent him a couple of grand to make sure he got his EP out so he could start things rolling for himself. I mean, the label wasn't in effect by then, so I had no opportunity to, you know, get him a deal or anything like that, but wanted to help him get it out, so lent him a couple of grand to put it out, and he paid it back. He paid it back, to his credit. Well done, Briggs.
The first time I heard Homemade Bombs, I was working here at Triple J doing the hip-hop show, and I'm always looking for local product to listen to. And so when I heard Briggs, it was great to hear him use his own accent, first of all, and just have that presence. I mean, we talk about presence all the time, you know. It's one thing to have presence in physical form, but to have presence when you're listening to something, because some people just don't have it, you know what I mean? But when I heard Homemade Bombs, I knew that Briggs, it was raw. Like, I knew it wasn't 100% there, but you could tell this Briggs had potential because he had that charisma, presence, and the lyrics as well.
Yeah. What about my EP, Homemade Bombs? You got that? Lions. To this joint. Where's the city irrelevant? Black and white, they all banging it. Still cat boot to the brain sound hammering. Face serve from the backhand. You just met the milkman, he was sold out. More than you thought. Gonna follow me like Brother Black up in the store. Last quality, you've heard it all before. Read a bad move.
I'd written down goals for it. Wanted to do a film clip, wanted to tour it, and I wanted to sell out on my first 1,000. The first thing I did was tour it, and that was with the Funkles on the Hangover tour. And I paid for that whole tour myself, like out of my own pocket, paid for flights, got a little bit of money for a show. We pretty much just did it for the love. I had to sell CDs at the shows to make it to the next show, for petrol money, for accommodation money. So, like, I used to tell the boys, I'd be like, yeah, we got to sell 60 CDs tonight. You know what I mean? And we're selling them at $10 a pop. By the time we made it back to Melbourne after doing a few rural shows and whatnot, I think I'd almost sold out on my first 1,000. So I'd knocked out 2 of my goals within, you know, the first month of pressing my EP. And I was like, all right, what do I do now? You know what I mean? It's like, I've got to work on the film clip. The film clip came about a year later, but, you know, normally you just forget about it. But because I'd written it down and I had this goal to tick off, I couldn't close the chapter on Homemade Bombs until that video was done.
He toured with us here. Our first state-of-the-art tour, he played with us in Classified around Australia. And then he came with us to Europe. He opened for us at our London gigs. And then he jumped on the bus and came with us when we were touring with Atmosphere in Europe.
I worked out that they're going to England first and Germany. And I was like, I got to do that. And I hit Matter and I said, Matt, if I can get the funds, can I come? And Matt's like, yeah. That was my first time overseas too. Like, I hadn't even been around the country before. I was in London doing support for the Hoods and 2 sold-out shows, you know what I mean? It's just like, never crossed my mind, man, that I was ever going to do that.
I think Briggs and our style of hip-hop, like Australian hip-hop in general, goes down pretty well in Europe because they do like their hip-hop a bit more street level, a bit grimier.
I had dudes come up to me, blood, we didn't know you spat like that, blood. You know what I mean? Like, there's, you know, because like in Germany they really like harder stuff.
And I think they kind of dig that street level sort of shit that Australian rappers come up with. We don't really have a polished pop sound in Australia, and I think it translates really well in Germany. And I know that Briggs got a lot of love when he was there.
He gets away with his hard sound in front of like crowds that may not usually be open to that sort of thing because of his charisma. If he just stood and delivered and that was it, I think he'd have a tougher time. But he has the charisma that makes people want to like him. And I think that's what works for him. Ambition isn't a problem with Briggs, and it never has been. When you've got that sort of ambition, it translates to work ethic and everything else. So that's never been an issue with Briggs.
And one of the reasons we signed Briggs to the Golden Era label was because he's just got this presence. You know, he's everywhere. He's probably the hardest working individual in Australian hip hop, if not one of. He's the most self-motivated dude I've ever met. He's always ringing people, asking for favours, doing collaborations, getting amongst it, getting on bills to do support acts for international acts, and everywhere he goes, you know, everyone remembers Briggs.
When the Hoods took him on, I was humbled. I was as happy as he was that a group and a collective of MCs who I rate very highly, who are some of my best friends in the Australian hip-hop scene, saw the worth in this fella Briggs.
The way we do it at Golden Era is we sit down with the artist and say, you know, we want to do an album roughly at this point during the year, and we make sure that they're good with that release date. But he's always been pretty cool with that. He finished his album well before his release date, I'm pretty sure, on the Blacklist.
I think I did Blacklist in about 10 months. I guess I had that fire, you know, when I come back from being on tour, and I was like, yep, I know what I'm going to do. And I made this record, the Blacklist, and wrote a lot of it in the studio, spent a lot of time at Suffers.
I think there's a definite progression between Homemade Bombs and Blacklist, purely because Briggs was... He had his lyrics and his ideas, and he was putting them into songs now and structuring in that way. And this song would be about that, and this song would be about that. And Wrong Brother would be about, you know, the dramas he had copped at clubs and whatnot. Like, it was so good to see him channeling these ideas and putting them into individual tunes. And you could tell as an artist, he knew what he wanted to do. And he had me, JT, all the same crew, Suffer, all the same dudes making the same beats. And we know what Briggs likes because he makes that pretty clear. So, you know, we just tried to feed him whatever he could stomach, and he smashed it all back out.
I was just in there working, writing, going nuts, you know, working with T, working with Suff. JT was sending beats. Merlin from Germany, who I hung out with, sent me the Wrong Brother beat.
Looking up, 6'1" to ton, and none of these charms are close to good enough. Talk about what you should have done. I'll give me a piece of my mind, but the moment never arrived. But it's what I would have done. Alright, son, whatever helps you sleep and floats your boat, whatever puts your mind at ease. But I suggest you keep your words behind your teeth and keep away from me. I ain't raising your scene.
Homemade Bombs was good because it was raw. The energy was raw, and that's what you like about it. But Blacklist had that same rawness, but it was also his skills were also sharp, and was able to conduct himself through the deliveries of the flows and the writing of the lyrics, and I think that comes along with hanging out with the Golden Era boys.
Looking at me, I'm lucky to be some kind of thing. Kick up the front, looking at him, he's some kind of grim. His last name is Briggs. Kick up the front, looking at you, there's something to prove. What you gonna do? Kick up the front.
Check it out, Briggs. White dressing room, man. Here in Melbourne, at the Palace, aka the Metro, about to do this Ice Cube thing. If someone would have told me when I was 15, started doing this rap stuff, that you got to support Ice Cube one day, I would have laughed in their face and told them, go jump off a bridge. You know what I mean? It's like whatever. That's my favourite rapper from back when I was a little kid. That's the reason I wanted to make rap music. And now I'm touring with him, you know what I mean? I'm hanging out with him every night. It's like, I never asked for it, man. I never thought when I was making my joint and doing all these shows and doing shows for 5 people that I'll be doing shows for thousands of people with my favourite rapper. It's just...
Coming back into Shepparton and having a baby changes your perspective about who you are and what you got to do on this earth. It'll come out in his work, I would imagine, but it'll also put some challenges up about how he devotes time to family and career, as everybody does.
Yeah, when Briggs first told me that he's got a child on the way, I thought, oh, that's it. Game off. No more shows, no more beats, no more music. But I think, in fact, the complete opposite. He's still really hungry to get out there. He's still calling me 50 times a day, where's the beats, where's the beats?
I don't see it slowing me down, man, because if anything, I see it speeding me up. Because now I've got a bigger responsibility than anything I've ever had. So I've got to make something good. I've got to make something good because I can't, you know what I mean? I can't waste time.
Fight, one on the top or 2 on the top.
See, I didn't even flinch. I
Really like to see Briggs crack the mainstream. I think Australia needs it, Australian hip-hop needs it, because I think he's definitely going to bring something new to the table. And I'd really like to see him be successful. And that's not just because, I do his production and DJ for him.
I can see Briggs heading on to the next record to absolutely smash it. I've heard the beats already he's choosing, the topics he's going to put down, the dudes he's working with already are people that I've admired for so long. And it's cool that Briggs can just stand on his own too, regardless of anything, any politics, nothing, and hang with the best, in the world. And that's the best kind of role model as I can see, man.
It's about creating opportunities, and I never waited for anyone to give me anything. I made my own shows. I pressed my own discs. I sold my own CDs. I made my own songs. You know what I mean? I found avenues to put things out. And that's what hip-hop is for me, man. It's been a tool to create income, an avenue where I can be creative, without being destructive to myself or, to anyone around me. If you're whack, you're whack. And if you're dope, you're dope. It doesn't matter what your skin colour is or, where you're from. If you got skill, you got skill. And you got to use that to your advantage. And that's what I've done.